Good evening, creepypasta lovers of the interwebs. I'm Alexa, resident ookie spooky girly, and today I'm honestly so excited to be talking about something I've been obsessed with since high school. Look, with what you know of me, you would probably assume I was already emo back then, but my nickname was actually Little Miss Conservative back in the day. I swear. Question for you, what's the best creepy story you've ever read? Let me know in the comments, and welcome to the top 5 disturbing creepypasta so scary you'll need the emergency room. Number 5, the Russian sleep experiment. Alrighty folks, I figured we'd kick off today with one of the most popular creepypasta tales of all time. So the experiment begins innocently enough, with a group of political prisoners subjected to a gas-based stimulant to keep them awake for an extended period. The researchers, armed with microphones and thick glass portholes, observed as the subjects descended into a nightmarish realm of paranoia and self-destruction. The narrative takes a sinister turn as the subjects, driven by an inexplicable compulsion, resort to increasingly disturbing acts. Screams pierce the chamber, and the subjects, devoid of reason, turn on each other. The descent into madness is marked by a grotesque display of self-mutilation and a bizarre episode where books are smeared with feces and used to cover the portholes. What follows is a macabre revelation of the subject's state, with organs exposed, flesh torn, and a horrifying revelation that they have been consuming your own body. The researchers, unable to comprehend the extent of the horror, grapple with the inexplicable resilience and aggression of the subjects. As the experiment reaches, its peak, a shocking twist unfolds. Now, the subjects are now seemingly beyond the brink of sanity, and they express a desire to remain in their tormented state. The revelation that they no longer want to be freed sends shivers down the spines of the researchers, who are now faced with an unimaginable dilemma. The aftermath of the experiment is equally chilling. The surviving subjects put up a fierce fight during extraction, resulting in casualties among the soldiers and an unsettling resistance to sedation. The subjects, once paralyzed, continue to laugh maniacally, revealing a disturbing detachment from pain and a plea for more suffering. The narrative reaches its peak with a startling revelation from the surviving subject. Immune to sedation, he endures a gruesome surgery without anesthesia, displaying an inhuman resistance to pain. Now, the other subjects, paralyzed during surgery, continue to demand the stimulant gas, emphasizing their desperate need to stay awake. The experiment concludes with a horrifying act of violence, as the subjects are sealed back into the chamber and chaos, ensues. The commander's betrayal and the revelation from the surviving subject, claiming to be the embodiment of the darkness within humanity, culminate in a chilling moment as the trigger is pulled that the narrative concludes with the ominous assertion that the madness within is so nearly free. Now, the Russian sleep experiment became immensely popular upon its original publication. It is considered by some, yes, to be the greatest and most shared creepypasta story ever made, and Dread Central's Josh Milliken has called it one of the most shocking and impactful urban legends of the internet age. Much of the online and offline debate surrounds the belief held by many that the story is real rather than fiction, and many articles therefore seek to debunk this claim. This story is often shared alongside an image of a grotesque, emaciated figure, which is implied to be, one of the test subjects. Fun fact, the image is actually of a life-size animatronic Halloween prop called Spasm. The more you know. Number 4, Abandoned by Disney. Okay, this is a tale from my personal favorites, my personal library of favorites. It's so good. This is the one that got yours truly into the land of consuming no-sleeping creepypasta tales. So, let's just set the scene. Imagine, if you will, a deserted paradise called Treasure Island, nestled in the Bahamas. Disney in all its grandeur, crafted this resort only to abandon it later, leaving $30 million worth of dreams to wither away. They pointed fingers at shallow waters and allegedly lazy, local workers. But the real story, our narrator suspects, runs deeper than the ocean surrounding the forsaken land. Now, allow me to draw your attention to another ambitious project, Mowgli's Palace in North Carolina, a jungle-themed resort inspired by The Jungle Book. Now, Disney, known for stirring controversy, faced opposition from locals who deemed the concept inappropriate. The clash between, this grand palace, jungle scenery, and a somewhat, yikes community kind of reached a boiling point. Homes were condemned, the media's tone shifted mysteriously, and the palace met an untimely demise. Fast forward to one urban explorer's quest, armed with curiosity and an old map. Now the remnants of the palace were wrapped in kind of overgrown foliage, but they whispered tales of the bygone era. As our intrepid explorer stepped through the colossal wooden gates, now weathered and etched with the proclamation, "Abandoned by Disney," the air buzzed with untold stories. The interior of the palace revealed a surreal landscape, broken structures, a grinning Baloo statue, and the poignant smell of decay. It was a canvas where chaos and order danced in eerie harmony. But the explorer's journey took an unexpected turn when the lifelike python, once a decorative piece, slithered away, a remnant of Disney's release of exotic animals upon closure. Delving deeper into the mascot's only area, a time capsule emerged. So the sub-basement, untouched by vandals, held the relics of a bygone Disney era. Clocks frozen in time, notepads waiting for doodles, and a punch-in clock marking the ghosts of mascots' working hours. But the true revelation patient awaited behind a black and yellow striped door labeled Character Prep 1. An eerie darkness enveloped the room, until, with an almost supernatural force, the lights flickered to life. Costumes hung like macabre art, frozen in a state of decay, and an uncanny Mickey Mouse lay on the floor. You know, a negative image, a harbinger of the bizarre. Like all the wrong colors, we got like more of like a turquoise situation. As the explorer focused their camera on this grotesque scene, the Mickey Mouse costume defied logic. It rose and began a disturbing display, tearing at its own head with redness and yellowness flowing like a surreal river. In a climactic moment, as the explorer fled the scene, a haunting message scratched into the door once again proclaimed, "Abandoned by God." Now this chilling encounter, veiled in mystery and grotesquerie, raised, questions about the dark underbelly of abandoned dreams. What was lying there? Now before anybody actually decides to, try exploring real abandoned Disney properties, I'd recommend looking up real tales of urban explorers who have tried and failed, especially when it comes trying to, sneak onto Treasure Island. It's not worth it, you guys. You're gonna get caught or worse. No. Number 3, baby dolls. Okay folks, this one's a little on the shorter side, so I think I have time to tell it fully, but it's also the most disturbing entry on today's list, in my opinion. So in rural southern Illinois, a toy company began selling realistic dolls to, expectant mothers. But apparently after the mother gave birth, the toy little one would start crying. Eventually the rocking motion, advertised to calm it down wouldn't work, and you couldn't get it to stop without shaking it. So eventually when it started crying, the parent would have to physically harm it. And even then the force used would have to get harder and harder to get it to be quiet. The only thing that seemed to get the doll to, shut up permanently was to bash its head against the wall to destroy whatever mechanism triggered the crying. On more than one occasion though, neighbors called the authorities to report crimes involving harm against humans, and when the police arrived, they found the red-soaked remains of small humans smeared across the walls and floors. In most cases, the mother couldn't understand why the police were there. She said that she had, just got rid of the stupid doll. She would say that calmly as she would rock a small human-shaped bundle in her arms. Now, the first time I read the story, I didn't expect the twist, and the visual in my brain currently has my jaw hitting the floor. Anybody else? Number 2, the algorithm. So we've all heard about the evil internet algorithm. Heck, I try my best to figure out how to defeat it on a regular basis, which is why I use silly words. Consider this unsettling chronicle of a person entangled in a web of paranoia, a dance with an unseen adversary determined to assail their very existence. So the narrative unfolds with a macabre elegance, a descent into a realm where every meal is a potential trap, every bite a gamble with an elusive antagonist. The protagonist grapples with an invisible assailant, a puppet master orchestrating a symphony of sickness and despair. The unsettling precision of the plot, the calculated moves of the malevolent force, leave the reader teetering on the precipice of disbelief. As the protagonist attempts to outwit this insidious force, we witness a psychological unraveling. The chessboard is a city, the pieces mere pawns in a grand game of survival. The relentless pursuit of safety leads to desperate measures, a calculated theft of sustenance from an unsuspecting neighbor. The act is gruesome, born out of necessity, a response to the relentless attack on their well-being. Now the story pivots on the notion of escape, a rebellion against the algorithmic precision of an unseen adversary. The protagonist, gaunt and desperate, seeks solace in a primal act, an act that transcends societal norms. In consuming the flesh of another, they believe they've found a sanctuary beyond the reach of the omnipotent foe. The climactic moment, a confluence of fire and hunger, paints a vivid image of rebellion. The flames, both cleansing and destructive, become a symbol of liberation. The protagonist, having tasted the forbidden fruit, now stands defiant against the algorithm, against the calculated dance that dictated their every move. As the flames flicker in the distance, an uneasy sense of triumph lingers. The protagonist, once a pawn in a cosmic game, has broken free. The old world, with its rules and morals, lies in ashes. In the wake of the fire, a new world emerges, one shaped by the unbridled will to survive. The tale echoes with the eerie resonance of paranoia and liberation. A, combination of fear and defiance. In the intricate dance between the protagonist and their adversary, we glimpse the fragility of our perceived control over our destinies. In the end, the story remains suspended, leaving us to contemplate the aftermath of the rebellion. I highly recommend reading it though if you're feeling brave. For me, it was pretty terrifying. Number 1, the Expressionless. So for me personally, the photo that accompanies this story caught my attention first. Seriously, if that woman doesn't creep you out, you don't have a soul. So according to the story, a nameless woman arrived at a hospital in June of 1972 wearing a red-soaked white gown. While this was not surprising, given how many injured and sickly people come to a hospital each day, what set the woman apart from the other patients was that she had a mannequin-like appearance, but she still moved fluently, like any normal human. So it's like, oh, I look like a mannequin, but I'm just like, still, yeah. Her face was also devoid of certain facial features such as eyebrows and was smeared with makeup. For no discernible reason, the nameless woman had a kitten in her mouth, which she pulled out before collapsing to the ground. I don't think I could fit a kitten in my mouth. I'm not gonna try it though. The woman was taken into one of the rooms and was thoroughly cleaned in preparation for sedation. Fearing for the worst, the staff decided it was best to restrain her until the authorities arrived, but they were also too frightened to look directly at her. They explained to the woman what their intentions for her were, and she seemed to follow along without much repercussion. When the chief doctor was preparing to inject her, however, the woman immediately started fighting back. Two staff members tried to hold her back as her body rose up from the medical bed. The woman then did something strange. She smiled at the head doctor when he asked her what she was. However, her smile was immensely disturbing as she had rows of razor-sharp teeth that seemingly were impossible to fit in her mouth. The doctor turned his back to the woman when he heard the authorities arrive, which gave the woman the chance to strike. She darted at the head doctor and sunk her teeth firmly into his neck, severing his jugular. As he lay dying, she leaned over him, proclaiming that she was God. The authorities arrived at the scene of the crowd to try and overpower her, but the nameless woman ended up massacring everyone she came across. A surviving nurse of the attack named the unknown woman as the Expressionless. There had never been another sighting of the woman since that incident. Look, honestly, picturing that woman attacking me is probably gonna leave me feeling uneasy for the rest of tonight. And that brings us to the end of our time, and it's officially time for me to go watch fluffy cartoons so I can sleep. If you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, hit the bell for more disturbing content from us here on Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.